The moment Vivian opened the door, that's when it all started. When our neighbors suggested I stay with them for a few weeks, I never thought it would take such an interesting turn. But that first glance, in Vivian's eyes, I saw something that had been buried for years. And in that moment, I decided to unravel her, to turn her world upside down. Vivian. Every movement, every word she spoke carried elegance. But beneath that elegance, there was a storm brewing. She played the part of a perfect wife in her flawless life. Yet I could see the turmoil inside her. And that turmoil pulled me closer. This wasn't just about being with a woman. It was about breaking through her unyielding armor, watching her walls crumble. At first, everything seemed ordinary. I was just a guest, staying for a few weeks. But Vivian's presence, even her silent steps from one room to another, had a way of unsettling me. And then there was her laugh. That first morning, as her laughter echoed through the house, I felt something stir inside me. It was as if everything had already been set in motion, like a game had begun. And I knew I was going to win. Then came that night. Her husband was out of town on business. We were sitting together in the living room, the TV playing something neither of us cared to watch. When she looked at me, there was conflict in her eyes, a mix of resistance and surrender. "Vivian," I said in a low voice, "have you ever felt something so powerful it left you breathless?" The question lingered in the air between us. Her eyes locked on mine, and she didn't answer. She didn't need to. In that moment, I knew she couldn't resist me. That night, words can't do it justice. With every touch, I felt her releasing years of suppressed desires. In that moment, she wasn't just a woman. She was someone breaking free of her chains. And I was the one helping her do it. The next morning, she was different. I could see it in her eyes. We both knew there was no turning back. But the real thrill began when danger entered the picture. When her husband returned, every moment felt like a risk. And that risk made our bond even more intoxicating. At breakfast, when our hands brushed under the table, or when our eyes met across the room, we both tried to act normal, but the fire between us was impossible to ignore. One time, while washing dishes in the kitchen, I stepped closer to her. Her husband was on the other side of the house. When I placed my hands on her waist, she froze for a moment, holding her breath. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling with guilt. But she didn't pull away. She couldn't. Even with her husband just meters away, she was as much a part of this game as I was. Maintaining control in those moments, that was when I felt my power. Vivian's age, her being married, those weren't barriers. They were what made this connection so forbidden, so thrilling. Young women are simple. They surrender without much thought. But Vivian, she was fighting. Fighting her values, her desires. Watching that internal battle, knowing she was losing to me, gave me a satisfaction I'd never known before. Each moment she gave in, I claimed a victory. One day, I suggested we meet in a hotel room. I saw the helplessness in her eyes. She wanted this, but she also knew it couldn't last forever. "You can't leave me, Daniel," she said. And in that moment, I knew Vivian was mine. Her strong facade had completely crumbled in my hands. Vivian wasn't just any woman. She was the most intricate piece of my game. This wasn't just a forbidden love. It was a conquest. And as I savored every moment of it, I knew the truth. This game couldn't go on forever. One day, everything would come crashing down. But until then, I wasn't going to stop. She was mine to control, mine to unravel. But how much longer could she lie to her husband? And how much longer could I keep playing this game? So now I ask you, what do you think will happen when it all comes out? Will Vivian choose me? Or will this game end for good? In the next chapter, things will only get messier, more dangerous, and far more intense. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and give this video a like. I can't wait to hear what you think. Vivian and I, our story isn't over yet, but the real storm is just beginning.